Was I born?
Oui.
I was born in Woonsocket, Rhode Island,
Alors,
USA.
ouais.
October 4th, 1948.
48? 47?
Yeah.
46. How did you grow up and why did you choose the guitar as like instrument?
Well, my brothers, who were 10 and 12 years older than me, both had guitars, and my brother Jerry, who was 10 years older than me, collected all the rock and roll records of the day, which were Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Buddy Holly, people like that, Elvis. So I heard that music and I fell in love with it, and I started teaching myself to play the guitar. And I found the blues on the flip side of a few Chuck Berry records, like In the Wee Wee Hours was the flip side of Maybelline, and Deep Feeling, which was a steel guitar blues instrumental he played, was the flip side of School Days. So the flip side of Chuck Berry's singles is what introduced me to blues.
Okay. Alors, what are your musical influences?
I have hundreds of musical influences. Maybe the biggest ones are people like Muddy Waters and T-Bone Walker, B.B. King, Charlie Christian and Kenny Burrell, Herb Ellis in jazz,
Yeah.
Chuck Berry,
Mixed
for
blues
rock
and
and
jazz.
roll. Blues, jazz, rock and roll, it's all the same to me.
Okay. Alors, do you remember your first show on stage
When I was first on the stage,
in USA?
probably I was 15 years old when my first band would be the first time I was performing on stage.
Quel âge? Quel âge?
At 15 years old. Yeah.
15? Alors, how did you founding Roomful of Blues?
Well, I collected blues records and R&B records from the 1940s and 50s. And I really loved that music, and I wanted to emulate the sound of that music. People like Louis Jordan and Amos Milburn and T-Bone Walker and Buddy Johnson, Roy Milton, people like that. And there was no one else playing that music at that time. It was very out of fashion. So I formed Roomful of Blues so I would have a way to play that music and develop that style the way it was originally played.
Alors, in Texas, you replaced Jimmie Vaughan and for the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Yes.
How did you do on the concert and how
Well,
did you make?
The Fabulous Thunderbirds, before they recorded, came up to Rhode Island and Boston, where we were, Roomful of Blues was, before anybody knew them. And I happened to catch their first show in New England, and they came to see us, and we became fans of each other. So before they were even popular nationally, we were good friends and jammed a lot musically and really appreciated each other's styles. So when Jimmy left, he basically told Kim Wilson to call Duke, because we were kind of musical fans of each other and musical partners in a certain way. We had different styles, but we appreciated each other's style, and he thought that I would be a fitting replacement. So.
Alors, how many records with Fabulous?
Just one.
One? Just one?
One album, and then I recorded 2 or 3 other songs that are on a kind of a greatest hits album that had a few extra songs on it.
Alors, tell me your recording with Bob Dylan.
Yes, I recorded on his Time Out of Mind album, and it was a lot of fun working with him. Very long sessions,
Yeah.
12-hour days for 9 days I spent working very close to him, maybe 6 or 7 feet from him, and it was a very good experience. You
Yeah.
have to follow him, you
He's
know.
good guys on studio.
Yes, he was great to work with. I really enjoyed working with him very much.
Alors, what's name for the first album of Dixie Frogs? Because how did you meet Philippe Langlois?
Oh, well, when I was first coming to Paris to play, and
I remember
being booked by Alain Rivet, Alain had worked with Dixie Frog. In fact, I think they started the label together.
Yeah.
So Philippe came to hear me and liked what he heard, and we talked about doing a record for Dixie Frog, which turned out to be, in Europe, it's called La Palette Blue. And
Alors, just you choose the title The Palette Blue. Why?
well, I wanted something that sounded French, but also was understandable, the meaning. And, you know, a blue palette, different shades of blues.
Yeah.
Different styles and shades of blues, so that was understandable to someone who spoke English what it was, but it was also a French name. And we were going to record it in Paris, but things didn't work out to do that, so I recorded it for Dixie Frog back home.
Alors, it's exactly the best jam maybe in your career and Freddie King.
No, I'm sorry. What's
The jam, the best memory
Oh,
with Freddie King together on the jam session.
we
And where?
myself?
No,
I did get to jam with Freddie King. With Freddie King, with Muddy Waters, Freddie King, and the whole Muddy Waters band back in the 1970s. And it was a strange experience because Muddy had invited me to come up and sit in with him. And I think Freddie King was mad because Muddy invited me up and not him. So he walked out on stage and took Luther Johnson's guitar away from him and put it behind his head and came up in my face and was playing and gritting his teeth, and I was very scared. I thought he was going to kill me. But it was a great experience, and I have a photograph of it, of us playing together.
Okay. Tell me also the recording before Jimmie Witherspoon, because they are the contact together with Jimmie Witherspoon.
Well, that was because of my label, Stony Plain, the Canadian label that I'm signed with. He was a fan, Holger Peterson, who owned the company, was a fan of Jimmie Witherspoon, as was I. Was a big fan of Jimmie Witherspoon since I was like 15 years old. So when he suggested that I produce an album for him, I said, yes, I really want to do this, you know. And so we did a studio album, and we had a lot of fun doing it, and it came out great. It's called Spoon's Blues. And then we did another album live in Canada with Jimmie Witherspoon.
Ok. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Ah oui, is that the tribute with T-Bone Walker? Ça, c'était a good surprise. Bon, you like T-Bone?
Well, T-Bone was one of my main influences. I first heard him in the 1960s on his albums that he did for the Bluesway label. But when they started reissuing his early records in the 70s, that's when I really got deeply into him. and he became my biggest influence for many years. So I thought it was fitting at some point in my career I had to do a tribute to T-Bone.
This is incredible also because there are many times you play to Paris. What do you think of French audience in Paris?
Oh, the French audience is phenomenal, especially at the New Morning, because when we play the New Morning, you can just tell people are so much into it, and when I get soft and I play really soft and sweet, you can hear a pin drop. It's so, they're so attentive and listening so carefully.
Yeah.
You know, it's really about my favorite place to play is the New Morning.
Alors, your future projects?
I have many future projects. I have an album coming out this May called A Swinging Session with Duke Robillard, which is primarily a swing jazz album, but with also some blues, some kind of 1940s swing and R&B type blues. And I have other projects in the works, an acoustic album, a jump blues album of some of the material that I used to do in the early days of Roomful of Blues. I've re-recorded that because a lot of that material never got recorded. So I did an album of a lot of that material that I hadn't had a chance to record before, and that'll be out in a few years. You know, I've kind of backed up with projects. I've got so many of them that I've recorded. So.
Okay. Alors, ça c'est the last question, personality. C'est, I do the great report on Jimi Hendrix and Miles Davis and James Brown. 3 musicians, singers. Okay? How did you meet them? Ou Jimmy, ou Miles Davis, ou James Brown? How did you meet him? Maybe you met him?
Jimi Hendrix?
Jimi Hendrix.
No, I never met Jimi
Miles?
Hendrix, and I never saw him live.
No Miles? And no James Brown?
No, I only heard the records. I never get to meet him or play with him.
Okay, it's very important because I do the history for every them. It's very important for me.
Yeah.
Bon, but thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you.